into the space, chasing all of the gains, chasing the pumps and all of the hype trains. But like in life, you buy before you could. Was told to buy when it was boring, like a Rainmaker should. I buy when it's down, don't chase the boats I miss. Cause I always make the time in mind. I sit the one out cause I'm patient like that. And I'll wait for the right time. I sell when it's high, I buy when it's low. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm just a Rainmaker running the show. Calculated investments, I don't lead with my heart. Principles are simple, they're leaving a mark. Buy when it's boring, just gotta be smart. I sell when it's hype, like all the channels they pump it. That's when I was selling, got parabolic, they dump it. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a Rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes the time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a Rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Time is never better, but time like the present. This next 5 years is a gift and it's feeling like heaven. I'm committed to learn, to study and to know that nothing comes easy but when knowledge you gain show. Sticking at this wrong cause soon will come a bear market. Learning and growing and when it's slow will be the target. Naysayers come out, Bitcoin is dead. The massive decreases can get to your head. Sticking around, the time is better. I'm strong like that, I'll let the others be fretters. 2 years time the ball will bring back the gains. That makes it worth the effort cause here comes the rain. So let's go Rainmakers, let's make it all happen. Let go with the hate, let the haters be crappy. I'm here for 5 years, let's do this together. The time is right, the time could be better. They call me Rick.
We talked last week this time that the evidence was leaning towards lengthening cycles over a blow-off top this December. That episode aged pretty well. It's impossible to tell exactly how this market is going to play out, but sometimes we get a few clues and we are pushing into a time period where we have needed to be pumping this December if we were going to hit this December blow-off top, and we just weren't. So the evidence is lining up towards a different picture than this blow-off top in November and December. And with that stock crash that bled into a crypto crash, is it time to be selling? Is it time to be buying? Or is it time to just be sitting on the sidelines? We're going to look at some data. We're going to refer to these data points in some charts that give us some clues. And I'm going to share with you my thoughts on 2 different ways this may play out. Then we'll look at a few different cryptos and how the panic drop hit their price. And then we'll get into some questions and answers. Welcome to the Crypto Rainn channel. I'm your host, Jay Rainn. And if you like money in crypto and are looking for a real investor's take on the crypto market, join the Rainmaker family by liking this video and subscribing with the all notifications bell enabled. Now, special note, you know this, but I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a crypto investor myself. I'm sharing with you how I think about crypto and specific cryptos I like. I do own or plan to own most of what I talk about in this channel because I don't talk about cryptos I don't believe in. So join us, strap in for the show, and let's welcome our producer, Dean Money, also in the Crypto Rainn Command Center with me.
Hey, what up, Jay? How's it going?
Hey, it's good, good. How do you like the changes to the studio?
Hey, it is looking good. Yeah, I'm happy to be here with you today because I think that a lot of the audience is probably feeling like I am today, right? Like I just kind of got walloped over the weekend.
Yeah, like serious beating.
Yeah, like how to make how to make heads or tails of all this. So yeah, I'm excited to hear your take on everything.
You know, we haven't had a beating this severe in quite a while, so it's going to be fun sharing with you my thoughts about this, even though it's not like a fun day because we're emotional creatures as human beings. And I know some of you out there are saying, no, I'm not emotional, I'm logical. And I used to think that too. And I've just had some things happen in my case where I tend to think, because I'm an analytical, that I'm very logical. And I realized even within my logic how emotional my underpinnings that I'm using for my decisions are. And then I use logic to cover it up. We're very emotional creatures. And this is why so many people don't make money in crypto and don't stick around for long term. So we're going to talk about that. Now, in general, the goal of this channel is we're building the most informed audience in crypto. And if we nail that, that should also lead to the wealthiest audience in crypto. And part of that wealth creation has everything to do with what we're going to be talking about today. So join us.
Yeah, and even though you said it's not going to be a fun day per se, there's no reason why we still can't get the party started. So let's do it.
Let's do it. Join me, Rainmakers. So because we're such emotional creatures, it does help if you get ice cream. Like literally ice cream helps. And I remember when I was at the university and there were some females at the university that didn't get asked to like a major dance. And so they had like a pity party together and they all got on the couch and they all ate ice cream together to help them feel better. Their life wasn't over, but it was a rough day for them. And doesn't like the last few days feel a lot like that? So we're going to look at the lengthening cycles, and why don't we get started with that. Now, I've got TradingView up here, and let me share my screen. Okay, so on TradingView, we actually looked at this the last week, and we were looking at how this market may play out. And we were looking at the idea of what we're calling lengthening cycles. So we don't have a lot of data points to go off of. This was our first halving, and I know it's hard to tell with the charts. I could put logarithmic scale on, but it throws off other things, so I don't have it on. Now this little dimple here was actually a really big rise if we zoom in, that you can't really tell because we've gone so high compared to that. But it went from very low numbers up to like $1,200 and then retraced. And that happened around November, December of 2013. Then in 2017, we peaked in December 2017, leading people to believe, and we don't know because there was only those 2 data points where we have a halving. About a year later, we have this blow off top. Now, what's interesting is the halving in 2012 happened in November, and the bull run happened, peaked out almost exactly a year later. This halving happened on the 23rd of September 2016. And then we had the blow off top. In fact, I have it here, 526 days later. Notice about the lengthening of the cycles. But it also ran right around November and December. So it wasn't quite clear how this would play out. But I was starting to suspect by last week that Plan B's guesses, and they're hugely, extremely accurate guesses, there's a lot of science that goes into his guesses, but they're still guesses, where we would have November hitting some high numbers, and then December, I think, maybe as high as 180,000 for Bitcoin. Well, it's looking like it's not going to play out that way, but does that mean the bull market is over and we're in for a bear market? I don't think we are. Now, I do feel December is probably going to be rough, but so I don't think this blood is over, and it's going to be a few weeks, possibly even 3 or 4 weeks that are hard. I think we're looking at some really, really big gains beyond that. So let's take a look, though. Let's look at some more things that happen. This is Bitcoin. So here's where our halving is. If we were to draw out not 526 days after, but we were to lengthen that cycle to about 700 to 750 days, that does put us into Bitcoin peaking in April to May of next year. Now, what might that look like? Well, that might look something like this, and this is just a bottom trend line. It might look something like that. Now, if I were like a great artist, yes, this would probably be a little bit higher, but we could come down back to this 40K, and it's not showing this on this chart, but it did hit 40K. And who knows, we could have a shoulder, and we could come down a little bit more just to shake out a lot of people before we then go higher. And you haven't been around, like this period was really, really rough and confusing for me because this was my first crypto winter. I started back in October 2017. And just because you have lots of experience in other types of investing, crypto has a lot of similarities. One of the similarities is patience pays huge. But in the middle of this crypto winter, what was crazy is we had this run up all the way from about $3,200 all the way up to 13,000. In fact, let me zoom in a little bit closer so you could see how severe this was at the time. So we had peaked out at 20,000, came down to 3,000, and right in the middle of the crypto winter, it ran up early to 14,000. And that mostly had to do with a scam that was going on in China called like OneCoin, or I don't remember what it was, China and India. And so a lot of people were buying Bitcoin, and then, the scam was figured out and it dumped, and they were chasing down the founders. And so it came back down, and then this is the first wave that happened from coronavirus scares, and the market dropped all the way to about 3,800 from, it had been 10,500, and then here, so if you think about it, it dropped significantly from 10,000 all the way down to 3,800. So it came down 62%. that is enough to scare the hell out of everyone. But I just stuck around, right? And I bought more as I could. I had a lot of stuff that I had invested during crypto winter at these numbers, and it sucked to have my whole portfolio down. But I stuck around, and can you see how rewarding that was to stick around? Like, amazing. So the main question is the bear market here? And I really don't think it is. I think we're just hitting lengthening cycles, and so there's a lot of exuberance from Mark Zuckerberg coming out and saying, you know, oh yeah, we're changing the name of Facebook to Meta, and everything's going towards the metaverse. A lot of us believe possibly that Plan B would be right and that we would have an amazing November and December, and the truth is he's been more accurate than anyone. And so even with getting November and probably December wrong, he's probably been more accurate than anyone out there, because it's entirely impossible to guess. If you're looking for someone to have it perfect, you're really looking for a prophet, right? Or you need some kind of magic crystal ball that actually does work. So none of us actually have a magic crystal ball. Part of the reason that there's so much money to be made here is that it is hard to tell, and it is hard to go through these emotional hit days like you're feeling right now. So if you can imagine being back here on this day, and it's easy to look back on the charts and say, wow, I wish I was around to buy during that day. But amplify what you're feeling today times about 3, and that's what it felt like right here, because it wasn't clear how deadly this new virus was. It wasn't clear how long governments were going to be shutting down businesses. A lot of unknowns, right? And so that's what that felt. But was it profitable to stick around? It was, and it popped back out, but look how long it took to get back to this level. So this was the 13th of February. Dropped all the way down here on roughly the 13th of March. So a month after this high. How long did it take to get back to this number? Okay, so really to May, mid-May is when it got back to these numbers, then came back down to really push through. Took till mid-July. So how big is this going to be? Well, I think the fears related to the virus are much less. I mean, the new strain of the virus doesn't have me worried at all. Now, I was a former military nurse, and we studied biological weapons. If you think about it, viruses, whether natural or man-made, are all biological weapons. One's just created by nature, and the other one man-made. And whether this is one or the other, we don't really know for sure. But we do know that, like, the news is hyping this recent strain, but we know that the mortality rate is really low on it, so I'm not so concerned about that. What I am concerned about is what's going to happen if the stock market crashes. Yikes, right? That is what's going to be scary. If the stock market crashes, that's going to impact a lot of things. Now, if you think about it logically, why would a stock crash be bad for crypto? Wouldn't it be good for crypto? I mean, that would follow logically, right? That, like, if stocks are crashing, people would say, oh, yeah, like, crypto, maybe that's where I should be.
Right. Well, and I agree with what you're saying. And I guess the question that I have for you is, I mean, you've talked about the stock market potentially crashing soon. So what is it that you're seeing that makes you think that is a reality here in the next, coming... I don't know what the time frame is that you're thinking.
Well, so I wish I followed the charts on stocks closer. I don't. But there's other indicators you can look at, like a cheat sheet. And what you usually see, you know who knows better what's going on in the health of their companies and the valuations than anyone? The different CEOs. And we're seeing a wave of CEO resignations. Now, why would CEOs be resigning? It's a lot better to retire on top, right? And that your stock's at really high prices than weathering through the fall. So I think the CEOs know what's up, and they're retiring and they're pulling their golden parachutes. So that's an indication that things are bad. Another indication is how long has the crypto or the stock market been rising, right? Since what, if you look back, 2008, 2009, 2010, started rising around then, but it really started gaining slowly until later, like 2014, 2014, 2015, but it has been a really, really long bull market. And so this is always followed by this every single time. Now, the only time it's not followed by that is when the government prints off so much money, and we saw that in Venezuela, we saw that a little bit in Argentina. And so values fell down, but the prices never fell down because they were printing out, like they were deflating the money. If you think that's going on fast right now, multiply that times about 100, and that's what was going on in Argentina and Venezuela. So it could be that if the government just keeps the money printer going crazy, that we don't see the prices fall, though we will see the value fall. Because what goes up always comes down, and the steeper it goes up, the steeper it falls down. So we're starting to see some tremors. We're starting to see some quakes there. The Evergrande thing in China, like, that was bound to fail. Do you know in China, see, I was a real estate investor, so I know exactly what happened in 2000 that caused the crash in 2006, 2007, 2008 across the US, Canada, and a few other places. And that was, there was so much speculation going on. And if you haven't watched the movie The Big Short, it's a really great movie to watch. And you'll see in Florida that we're building entire subdivisions that, you know, there was like 300 homes and maybe 5 to 20 people were living in that whole subdivision. Because housing prices were going up so crazy, people were speculating on them, buying these houses, not even taking the time to rent them out. And they were going up by 10 grand a month. So they were hoping just to flip them. And so there's a lot of speculation going on. There was way more houses than were needed. Interest rates were pressured and kept low. It was made so easy for anybody with a pulse to get a loan that housing prices kept going up until all of a sudden they didn't. And all the speculators got burned. And China has been going through that cycle. Now in the US, the last thing that's been going on, at least from what I've been seeing, has been more moderate. Not as crazy as the previous cycle. Yes, some speculation. Yes, some rampant price increases. But I haven't seen or heard of even large subdivisions where there's, 100 homes and like 5 to 10 people living in them. And so China, that's the case though. They have huge apartment complexes that are built that nobody's even living in. They're like ghost towns. And so China's real estate market is going to crash. And because of the interconnectedness of the world today, that's going to lead to ripples throughout the world. And so my guess is, this is just a guess, that China's going to have some rough months. The U.S. is going to have some rough months. A lot of other countries are going to have some rough months. And stocks are going to suffer. Now, what happens when stocks suffer?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, how is that then correlated to, because like you said before, it does seem counterintuitive, like, hey, good, if stocks are down, then crypto, that's good for crypto, right?
Yeah.
But what's going to happen exactly?
So what's funny is initially they sell off their crypto too because they're going to cash. And then they're like, okay, I've got my cash. What am I going to do with it? Okay, so the stock market's probably going to climb down from here. That's kind of risky. Things are overvalued. I mean, Tesla's valuation is crazy. You have companies that are valued at like 70 to 100 times their earnings. Those valuations got to come down and reset. They're crazy numbers. And so as they reset, people are going to decide different places to put their assets. Now, my guess is initially crypto dumps. And we're already seeing that crypto dump because mostly the stock market fears. And but after a little bit of time, and sometimes it's a couple weeks, sometimes it's a couple months, I think they put it into crypto. And I think the crypto narrative really takes off. And I think we see a massive, massive run from here. And the charts back that if we have this lengthening cycle, that this cycle could go really high on Bitcoin. It could go with a lengthening cycle anywhere $250,000 to $450,000 per Bitcoin. And so that would mean many of these alts have plenty of room to do crazy things from here still too. And that's exciting to me. I mean, let's take a look at some of the charts. This is Bitcoin. Even though I love Brave New Liquid Coin Index here, it doesn't always show the up and down movements very well, but it does have a lot of history to it. That's why I like that chart, but sometimes I just want better history, better price action, being a little bit more accurate. This one shows it almost going down to 40,000, but it did wick down to 40,000 here. And so we had this strong sell-off, and I just think the blood isn't completely over. That doesn't mean we'll necessarily push down through this, but we might come all the way back down to 41 to 40,000, especially if the stock market has some really bad additional days. And then we could come up and we could complete a head and shoulders, bringing Bitcoin down to $28,000, because this would make a perfect head and shoulders pattern. Do I want that to happen? Well, I don't have a choice in the matter. I'm an investor. I look at the likely outcomes of what may happen so that I'm prepared either way. So now, what decisions am I making because of this? So first question is, am I selling things, and am I selling myself to get into cash? I'm not. The way I have it set up, I can be patient and I can wait. And even if it comes down here and wait, I can wait till spring, and that's fine, because it may come down like this and it could bounce off of this support and it could then resume coming up after January 1st. I do think overall it's going to be a rough December, because there's another thing painful that's coming, and that's investors in the U.S. wanting to take profits out of crypto because they're the uncertain regulatory environment of what long-term capital gains taxes will look like next year for U.S. investors. And the U.S. still has a lot of sway in the crypto market, so there's every chance that they could sell off coming into the end of the year and then be buying back in early January. So I do think December is going to catch everyone off guard, and it's going to be a rather bloody December still. And so we're 1 week in December. We got maybe 4 to 5 weeks before we start to see some rosy things, if it plays out this way. And I'm seeing more evidence that it might. All right, let's take a look at how this impacted some other things. Cardano came way down here to this previous support area right here, like right at that support. Now, it had wicked past that support a couple times, but some really strong support. So it came all the way down to $1.15. We did not expect to see Cardano so cheap again. Solana went on sale, but not very much on sale, unfortunately. I mean, it was way up at $270 roughly, and it did wick all the way down to $163 and sitting around $190. So a little bit of a sale on Solana. Luna didn't have much of a sell at all, and there's a reason. And it's unfortunate. I was moving some assets to pick up more Luna, and it absolutely took off. But there's an airdrop coming if you have Luna staked on the Luna ecosystem. Basically, when a new project launches on Luna, they airdrop to existing Luna stakers. So that's why you're seeing the Luna price has absolutely skyrocketed, gone up. And it's come down a little bit. Still more expensive than I wanted. I was actually trying to load up more on it around this 42 price range. So you do see Luna affected a little bit, not as much as everything else. Here's one that I like. So some of the things that I hear on the back end of what projects are building on, just a lot is building on Polygon. And so I think Polygon has, it's going to be a good 5 to 6 months for Polygon ahead of us. In December, who's to know? But look how little the pullback was here. Although it did have a strong wick down all the way to $1.60. Now, D, you have some Polygon that you picked up not too recently.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. So I was really impressed with what Paul said in the episode this week. He looked at Polygon and he said, he was like, this looks like it's going to be huge based on what the chart is showing. Mm-hmm. And we know that Paul doesn't know a lot about the project itself. He just saw the chart. He's 100% technical analysis. And so, yeah, I bought when I was throwing a little bit more cash in. I was like, well, I'm gonna throw some at Polygon, because I thought that I was frankly just looking at what Paul saw and said, hey, maybe I'll take a look at this thing. And yeah, I'm happy that I did, because it was not the bloodbath that a lot of the other kind of blue chip altcoins were.
Yeah, and they were a bloodbath. Like, it's kind of like you were out on your sailboat during the storm, right? And your Matic boat happened to be somewhat in a safe harbor. It didn't get nailed as much. But even this morning, it did wick all the way down here, but it pumped right back up strong, because there's a lot of strength behind it. There's a lot of things moving to Matic. There's a lot of fundamentals behind it that are pushing it up. And if we didn't have this big wick down, it probably would have skyrocketed up from here.
Yeah, I think it would have done exactly what Paul thought it was going to, but the reality was he couldn't have foreseen what was happening or what was going to happen this weekend.
Yeah, and with the Fed chairman in the U.S. coming out and just, sharing some concerns that caught everyone off guard, I mean, that's what shook the stock market. The stock market crash shook our market, right, the crypto market, and so it just one bleeds into another. And anyone who says it doesn't, all they have to do is look at this last weekend, as well as go back all the way to March of 2020. It doesn't really show up on this, but it does show up on ADA, March 2020. Let me go. Totally crashed in March 2020, right here, bam. Came all the way down. Wouldn't you love to be able to pick up ADA for like 1.5 cents?
Well, Salkin in the chat said, I remember March 2020, it felt like crypto was done for. And it was interesting, looking at those charts, because Bitcoin was what, 3,200, you said, something like that?
It came down to 3,800.
Yeah. And looking at that, of course, all of us are going, oh, we'd love to buy Bitcoin for 3,800. Yeah, of course we would do that. Now we're seeing not a similar, like you said, I mean, it's down, 16, 17, 20%, not the 62%. But now are we saying, hey, this is an opportunity, right? Or are we going, what's the problem? Or what, what's coming, right?
When you're already in the market, it's like you've been gut punched. If you weren't in the market, you can look at it like 2 years later and say, oh, yeah, I would totally take advantage of that. But you weren't there to get punched in the gut. And this is the hard thing. A lot of people say they're here to make massive money in crypto, but they don't weather through the days like this. They leave. They get frustrated. They throw their hands up in the air. They say, oh my gosh, crypto Rainn didn't tell me this was going to happen. Actually, I got a little bit of warnings, but I didn't know this was going to happen. I didn't take all my crypto and throw it into stable coins to be able to buy 30% cheaper. I knew that the odds were starting to play out differently, but I didn't know the Fed chairman would come forward and stuff. So how do people that stick around make so much money? Well, because they stick around. We're in a a great appreciating asset class, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have hard months, doesn't mean it doesn't have hard quarters right in the middle of a bull run. That means that the people who become rich through it just stick around, and they make pretty good bets on some companies that have strong fundamentals, that have better chances than average. So if you think about it, why is card counting illegal in like casinos? Anyone know? In the chat, I'm looking for you. Why is card counting illegal in casinos? Because it takes the edge of the house away and it gives it to the player. So on average, they're going to win over losing. So in crypto, think of it like you're counting cards, and it's not illegal in crypto. By counting cards, what you're doing is you're analyzing the fundamentals of projects so you can make better than average gains. Now, does that mean you're going to win every hand? No, you're going to lose some, and that's part of it. But the averages play out in your favor if you stick around. See, card counters don't know exactly what's going to play. They just know on average that they're going to do well because they know what the averages are and they play the averages. Well, what are we doing? This is why I like crypto over gambling, because gambling on average you're going to lose. In crypto, if you're staying away from the total gambling coins like meme coins and other things, and you're looking at solid fundamentals, it is like counting cards. On average, you're going to win, especially as you understand the bull and bear markets. Like if you buy right at the top of the bull market, well, shoot, yes, you can win, but you got to hold on for 4 years, and that's going to be rough. But if you're buying at lows and selling as the bull market gets really, really heated, and then putting that cash on the side and buying back in the bear market, and it's hard to tell exactly where the bottom is, you'll find that when you buy back in the bear market, then you'll get caught off guard and prices will still drop 50% from there. And you're like, shoot, I bought the bottom. I thought I bought the bottom, but man, I wish I had waited till then. And that happened to all of us during the last crypto winter, those that stuck around. However, it worked out exceptionally well for us. Eventually the price turned around, shot up, 50x, 100x from some of those numbers where we had bought at. And yeah, it would have been perfect to time the bottom, but you just have to play the averages. And that's what we're doing in crypto. That's why I like it over gambling, because on average, with good picks, you're in a technology sector that is booming and it's going to change the world. And not everything you pick is going to do exceptional or even be around. But if you make some good bets, your ones that win will far exceed their gains, will far exceed the losses from those that you lose on, especially if you stay away from the super risky stuff like meme coins and the pump and dump stuff. All right, so this is, I was just checking out the price action on some of these. Luna did pretty good, Matic did pretty good, Dot got savaged terribly, and man, Dot has really not recovered yet and come back into the narrative. They got wrecked when China was banning crypto, and it really slowed them down because they had a lot of their investors and developers in China, so that really set them back, the Dot ecosystem. And they do have their parachain auctions going live and stuff, but they haven't got back into the narrative, and they might come back into the narrative. They are really cheap right now comparatively, and they could go a lot higher, but really Mark Zuckerberg threw metaverses into the narrative for the past 6 weeks, and so that's kind of like taken everything else out of the spotlight. It's amazing how billionaires have that kind of influence in our day. They have enough clout that happens. Let's see, I want to share with you also some other ones that are a good sale. Formation Finance, I covered a lot, and then I wasn't covering it so much because it was so expensive. So now it's cheap again. Now they did have a flash loan hack too. That's part of what brought the price down. They're all the way down at 6 cents. And when this was launching, I had talked to the team. I wasn't able to bring them on for an interview, but I talked to them before they launched, and I was like, this one's going to be a great one. And I was like, but their IDO price, I don't remember where it was, maybe about 2 cents. And I was like, under 20 cents are a good buy, or not under 20, under 10 cents are a good buy. And it doesn't show it here. They were about 16 cents and then went to 20 and never came back to it. But now they've actually dipped to a really attractive price. Their market cap, we don't really know where that's at. Their total supply could be at $1 billion. But if every one of their tokens was $1, that'd put the market cap at $1 billion where it's at. A fully diluted market cap is about 60 million. So that means our market cap's probably around 5 to 8 million. I like that price range for that project. Another one that's on sale, Legend of Crypto game, had a big retracement. They do have their beta coming out, and so it's a good one to watch. Their packs will be, you'll be able to open them. I did talk to the team, and they're going to send us a couple packs to open up and take a look at. I did have them on the channel way back around the time they launched their CEO, and it was fun. I'm looking forward to this one. I hope they create some really memorable cards that also are collector's type items, and that's what they're going for, is trying to create packs that work well for the functioning of the game. And they did have Blizzard help design their gameplay for their actual card game, but as well as maybe some NFTs that have some value in the future. And they've created some cards, like they have a crypto banter card and some other big influencers. They didn't create a crypto Rainn card yet.
Come on.
Maybe season 2 we'll get in there.
Yeah, Irv Douglas just said they had a game tournament 2 weeks ago, and he was playing in one with the rapper T-Pain that was streamed, so that's dope.
That's huge. That's awesome.
But yeah, that's the kind of stuff that these guys are doing, right? And they keep announcing more and more things like this. It's going to put them...
They're very well connected. They have the right connections to make big things happen. And so that's why I've kept my eye on that. If you think about it, their price actually was doing pretty good until everything tanked down here. But then if you're looking for a good sale, I mean, it's not as cheap as it was back here in July. July things were the cheapest. I mean, theirs was early July. Some things it's like the 21st of July was their bottom. Yeah, everything was really cheap then, but it's still come down a lot. This one is kind of like a one-night stand. Because they'll probably have some big things coming. If you're going to buy it, catch some ride up and then take some profits out of it. Do I think it'll do good long term? I think it's still got good potential. I think it'll do really good through the end of the bull market from where we are now. I think it'll do great. Another one where I really, really, really like where the price is at is Spores. Now, I know what's funny is if you go to all the other YouTube channels, they do not think the same way. And this is why most of the people with YouTube channels, now there's some that are multimillionaires, but they make it through selling ads on their channels or sponsorships and other things. Very few of them are wealthy through trading, right? And so I was rich before I started my channel, or somewhat rich actually. It was really March that my portfolio went crazy, and I had recently started my channel. And I had made some really good money prior to starting my channel, but it was really March when my portfolio crossed some big numbers that I had been hoping for. And because I'm an investor myself, and I'm a swing trader, I hold for longer periods. And so I look for these lows to then ride out the highs. So when something's being talked about by everyone and it's just pumped 7x, that's not when I'm buying it. When I'm buying it is when it's really low and attractive. Now, you haven't seen this flatten out. So I did just make a pickup of these two, Splyt and Spores, both of these. And they're not quite really at their bottom yet. And the reason I'm buying now is because I might miss when their bottom is, and I'm just happy with their price where it's at. So, in fact, I'm ecstatic. Now, unfortunately, where did I buy? Up here, and it dropped a bunch since here. So I'll be picking up some more Splyt because this price really, really makes me happy. Now, if you look at where Splyt's been, it's a long ways away from where it's been. And if it just gets back up to there, it's a 50x from here, or almost a 50x. So I really like Splyt. Now, they're like a decentralized Shopify, which for people who run stores and other things like Shopify, it takes a lot of your money. And so Splyt will do that decentralized. It'll allow your fees to be less and for the people running the different stores to be able to make more. But it takes a while for the actual, all the background stuff, all the agreements, getting everything done. And they really did just launch in March. And so we see the price here in April, but it launched actually in March. And so really they're about 4 years out from their use case really being strong. But I do think in this lengthening cycle that it's going to have some really good appreciation. And that's why I'm picking up more. Now, I'm still big on these Solana ecosystem ones I've covered before. Solbank, Solminter, also Solend, and they're really cheap right now. And you know what? They might get cheaper. They might not. They might not come down to their previous lows. I remember when they had gone to these highs and they'd come down here and I was like, man, it's cheap. And then it went crazy. And I know some of my audience took profits along the way. I know I took some. Unfortunately, I only took like 20% profit out of it, which was amazing from these lows, right? So amazingly good numbers, because now it's decreased all the way close to those lows and it's gotten really attractive again. Do I still believe in it? I actually read a Telegram chat AMA with the CEO, and it was really informative. And, you know, it confirms some of the things I had heard. I do know 3 people that know them, have done video calls with the team, and have had in-depth talks. And so I asked them, I don't know this team myself, but they're really still bullish on this. So I am too, based on that. And another one that let's check out is Solend, and this one launched recently. It has some really big backers, and I have been really surprised by this one because it's dropped to below what its IDO price was, and its IDO price was like $5. So it's well below that. Now, there are people that are essentially getting these tokens for free. They're locking up some liquidity in Solend's platform where they're staking some different tokens like Solana and other things, and they're getting interest rate paid in the token to them. And so they can afford to sell these tokens at cheaper than $5. And plus there's some people that panic sell. But look, we're starting to see a flattening bottom here. And that's what I really like to see. So we might be at the bottom for this. All right, let's see. I do want to thank our sponsors, Wanchain. They've been great to offer us a sponsorship. It's kind of like if Nikes came to you and you had worn Nikes for like 3 years, and they came to you and said, we want to sponsor you, you'd be like, heck yes. So thank you to them. They've been great. I will share with you one thing that really helps me on rough days like this, because I'm still emotional too. I don't love these days. I'm a lot more numb to it than you are. I do remember how it felt in my first big pullback, even during the middle of the bull run, because I started late October, and November had a big pullback too on a lot of the altcoins, and that sucked. And it was like a knife in the heart, especially when you're trying to convince your wife that you're doing something worthwhile. And they're like, wait, your portfolio is down by 40%? Like, they don't really get it. Your spouse often doesn't. Now, if you're a woman, you might have trouble with your spouse. It's a man, funny enough. And if you're a man and you've been into crypto and your spouse isn't, yeah, it's hard because it puts extra pressure on you, doesn't it? And it sucks because you're trying to explain and to justify to them what's going on. Now, I had to do that because I was buying during the crypto winter. And so it was about 2 years where I got full sign off from my wife that she's like, okay, you absolutely do know what you're doing. Oh my gosh. Okay, fantastic. Just now she, you know, even on pullbacks, like she gets it. She's a little bit numb to it too. But it still hurts a little bit. So one of the things that's really helped me is I do farm on Zookeeper. Now, this is run on Wanchain. There's a video about Zookeeper where I go in depth on how to use it. And so, obviously, I must not have this connected. Oh, that's not what I want to connect. Oh, that's why. Okay. It's like, where did it all go? So every day I get to harvest some returns out of this, and it's just fun. And the transaction cost, if you see what these transaction costs are, it's so cheap. And so Wanchain, I did go over Friday, and we did have our giveaway Friday, and somebody won that in the live stream, won 125 won, so congratulations to them. And we asked them what the different chains were that Wanchain has already bridged to, and there were 9 total. So thank you to Wanchain, our sponsors. That is what's driving this. That's what's driving those super low transaction fees you just saw. Look at that. 0.00088. Oh, let me scoot this over.
Yeah, there you go.
Those numbers are so cheap. I love it. That kind of stuff makes me happy. But I hate like wasted money. So I hate high energy bills. I hate like high gas prices because that's just money gone for forever. And I hate high like ETH gas fees. So Wanchain makes me super happy related to that. All right. So my thought is that there's more blood for December, but I want to hear your thoughts and what your thoughts are and what questions you have. So let's get into our question and answer segment. But do note, we are going to be giving another 125 won this week. So stay tuned. That might be Wednesday. It might be Friday. And we have that going forward. So we'll be giving away 125 won every week. So subscribe if you haven't already.
Yeah, and just a reminder to everybody, please include what you like about a project. Don't just give us the ticker symbol. That helps us out quite a bit.
We do want to hear your analysis, right? Because we talk about building the most informed audience. So we're not building a channel where we just come in, we're like, oh, look at this and buy this and do that. Number one, that would be financial advice. But number two, that wouldn't help you learn and grow. What we hope is that there's an army, like a Rainmaker army, of investors that get it, that get like the patience it takes to be successful and that make massive returns. So we do like to see your thoughts on what you like about things. There's no wrong answers. They're your thoughts. So like, even if you're wrong on things, like it's okay. Like if you're new, we all are new at some point. And even like, I'm not always right. I'm almost always right.
What are you seeing in the chat? Are you seeing anything that... a couple.
Edgar says shakeout. Yeah, totally agree. I'm not telling anyone my ups and downs. That also was by Edgar. Smart. Like, it's hard to explain to your friends, right? And they laugh at you. And then later, you get a laugh at them. But sometimes that later, is painful 3 or 4 months. Ups and downs, smiles and frowns, buying the dip by Cole Flag. I like it. Again to buy. I bought in late 2017, never sold till April 2021. Took out good timing on April 2021. Great job. Took out 10% of my crypto, which was 250% of my initial investment. Keep calm and DCA. Salkin gets it. Salkin 3/4.
Yeah,
I love it.
He's the guy who said that basically, I think he said in March of 2020, he said that he felt like crypto was done for. There's the comment again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it really it requires patience, right?
Well, in March, it was going so high, right? And that's why he was saying he truly is a contrarian investor, which the contrarian investor, that's where you make all the money. So March, it was going absolutely absurd. And so I didn't know how to interpret it. It was going so high so fast. And, you know, it was very early in the year for that to be happening. And Elon Musk caused some of that. And so he took profits when essentially it was getting crazy. And he only took some of his profits, but what he took out, the 10% that he sold out was 250% of his total initial investment. So he gets it, and this is also why we take profits when you're ahead, right? Because you don't know exactly how the market's going to play out, and we might get caught off guard later.
Let's see here. Cole Flag or Colonel Flag, I don't know what it is. He says that, I'm trying to find the comment to throw up on the screen, but he says, I'm liking DAG Constellation. I know you went over it the other week, some impressive partnerships.
DAG, I don't remember looking at, yeah. What partnerships is he talking about? I haven't seen
Yeah,
those.
I don't know. He just said some impressive partnerships, and maybe he's tricking us. Maybe he didn't go over it.
Yeah. So we got a massive, yeah, it's pretty cheap right now. My spouse is coming in to say hi. Hey, baby. All right. So, yeah, that price, I mean, that's a really solid, nice retracement. I haven't seen what the partnerships are. I haven't looked at Constellation in so long, literally since the crypto winter. It was really cheap back then, though. So you could have bought it at 1 penny. It went all the way to 45 cents and now back to 15 cents. So you're still massively up. If you had stuck around in the crypto winter, you're massively up. All right, let's see. I'm in 50% side cash now. It's 30% bull market disc or 20. Yeah. Yeah, I know some people that pulled out cash on the side and trade that way. In fact, somebody I know always does that, right? He always does that. He's almost never wrong, but he's never been stuck in when it's reversed. But many times he's cashed out and it went way ahead. So we were talking in March at the Bitcoin conference, and he's like, hey, Rainn, what's your portfolio up at? And I was like, since when? He's like, since a year ago. And I was like, what are you up? And he's like, 40%. And I was like, I'm up 11x. So I don't do his strategy. That's what he does. Anytime he sees the tremors and stuff. So last week I haven't talked to him. He probably went all the cash, and so he didn't get hit by any of this, and he's probably buying cheap. But there's lots of times when it shows these tremors, and he sells all the cash, and then it takes off, and so he misses those big swings. I usually just keep my cash in unless I feel like we're near the end of the bull market, and then I'll have been taking profits anyway and putting them on the sidelines. And I don't think we're at the end of the bull market.
Hey, Colonel Flag just came back and said they partnered with the American Air Force, Amazon, and he's sure that we looked at him last week. So, yeah, I believe him. But yeah, I would have to verify those. But yeah, I mean, those seem like impressive partnerships.
Exactly. Well, partnerships are interesting. It's kind of like, what does the partnership entail is what I like to read, because people are like, we partnered with Amazon. And that just means they use Amazon Web Services for their storage, and they say that's a partnership, and that's not truly a partnership. Now, with the Air Force, that's truly a partnership, but as to what the partnership entails, I would have to see the details, but I do like that price. I mean, so the reason I was looking at them in the bear market, they've always been a strong long-term prospect, right? So they had this parabolic move like this, and then just a retracement. And so my guess is it's going to continue up on some trend line close to this, and it's going to have another parabolic breakout ahead. This is just like one, but it probably has a really good spring ahead of it. And I think this spring, if you look back at last spring, I think this spring is going to be bigger. So this was this in spring. This one only did so good. This really did a lot better in August, funny enough. But let me share with you how big the spring was. This is how big the spring was for Bitcoin. It was huge for Bitcoin and then came all the way back down. And so we barely went past where it hit before in the spring. And so the spring was pretty big, but imagine this kind of climb but about 3 times higher is my guess for what we have in this spring ahead of us. All right.
Giovanni says, me personally, I'm mostly just invested in waiting for Ecomi to do its thing. I personally see how undervalued this company and crypto is.
I love Ecomi. They're landing like the best deals, right? So they have the best intellectual property licenses. And so somebody asked if I'd seen the big candle on Wanchain. There's a couple big candles trying to push up like this, and then they've been sold into it. But there's some signals that something is wanting to run on this. Now, it fell a little bit with the market, but it's only at 72 cents, so it didn't fall too high. Back to Ecomi, I love that project. I feel like the leadership is strong. They're positioned well. They were there first. They've gotten Disney, they've gotten Marvel, they've gotten DC, they've gotten a lot of the best intellectual property. They're going to be creating their own metaverse. I do think it's got a really, really strong future ahead of it. So I love Ecomi. Absolutely. In fact, we talked about Dee and our business manager getting together because I follow Ecomi kind of well. I'm definitely investing in it. I love it. I participate in the VV stuff. But our business manager, Doctor of Stuff, he is way more up to date on that. So we're going to bring him on a video soon to share with you an update on Ecomi and other NFTs because he dives deep into that. So he is really busy. He still has his full-time job. He just worked for us part-time. And his full-time job has got a very important, I can't say who he worked for, but it's a very prestigious job at a high level. And so it's great to have high-caliber people like him working with us.
Yeah, and Omi, it's interesting over it really seems to have a strong support right at a half cent. It kept, I saw it a little bit before a couple of times, or a little bit below over the weekend, and I kept thinking, ooh, maybe I should buy a little bit more, and then it was like immediately it was back up to like 5.4, 5.5 type of a thing, so really strong support right there.
Yeah, most of the collectibles on the VV didn't get hit by this drop. And some of these collectibles, they do have their own market cycle, but it's different than everything else. And so they do have some big things. I do think these like Spider-Man comics, Spider-Man #1 comics, when they're tradable on OpenSea and other things, that the floor will be a lot higher than they are now. Now there's like 70,000 total Spider-Man #1 comics, so that is a lot. But 20 years from now, when a lot of people are, like everybody's in crypto, it'll seem like, wow, there's only 70,000. And so I think now they're trading for about $70. But, they were buyable for about $6 or $7. $7 initially, and then some people dumped them. So they've already 10x just from, 3 months ago?
Yeah, something like that.
So I bought up like 32 of them. So, I mean, that's not a lot now. It's like, oh, sweet, that's like 3,000, or it did hit $100. It was 3,000. But when it really gets to be a lot is when they're like 1,000 to 10,000 a piece.
Yeah. Hey, Robin Lynch asks, when do you think Freeway will go to the moon?
Interesting. Yeah. I think more people are onboarding with their use case. I'm a big fan of that. I have stocked up millions. I've got millions of Freeway Token, but I wish I had 20 million. I'm not there yet. So I think this interruption is going to interrupt everything because Freeway's been doing really well. We were talking about it at 0.7 cents. It went all the way to like 2.4 cents. And it's since retraced to, last I checked, it was about 1.5 cents a piece, which is still a heck of a deal. The price is amazing. The market cap's really low. And so, I think in the coming months, it's going to go crazy. And my thinking, from 1.5 cents a piece, I think it goes 100x from here. That's my hope, is that it goes at least to $1.50, if not higher. And the use case for it is really strong as people start to use the Freeway, the Aubit platform, for returns on their Bitcoin or their stable coins. How I'm going to be using it is I'm going to be using it for their stablecoin superchargers that pay out 3% per month. When you add that in and add that up and compound it, it's about 42 to 43% a year, which far exceeds Anchor Protocol's 19.5%, which far exceeds everything else's stablecoin returns, which vary between 4% to 10%. So
Yeah, and that is down. It's at like 1.3 right now. So that seems
delicious.
1.32. So yeah, lower than we've seen it in a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, so there's this nice opportunity to buy. Now, is today a good time to buy? It might get cheaper, it might not. That's why when I'm buying like this, I just dollar cost average in case it does get cheaper. That way I can buy some more. And if it does get more expensive, at least I have some that I got at the cheaper level. That's how I play these dips. How you play them, that's up to you. That's just what I've used that's worked well for me. Having been in the for a while, what I used to do when I was brand new at this is I would see it go on a dip and I'd throw everything at it and then it would dip more. So that's just kind of through some painful experience. And that does mean sometimes you don't end up getting as much as you want at the cheaper prices. And so that's one of the trade-offs. And in crypto, we're always dealing with trade-offs.
Shahid says 110 watching right now, only 47 likes. What the what, guys? Come on.
Hey, we do appreciate everyone who likes every one of our videos. I know a lot of you Rainmakers out there do that for us. I see it in the percentages. Thank you for doing that. It does help us grow. Help us grow this channel because then we can get bigger sponsors. We can do bigger giveaways. We do have coming up when we hit 25K subscribers, we're going to start giving away our 401Js. We're making some upgrades to the office and finding ways to improve, try to make the stream and the shows more fun, as well as still being informative because, you know, we want you to stick around during the crypto winter. And the crypto winter is going to be boring with crypto. It really does get boring. I mean, think of this pain that you've just got savaged right now. Now, hopefully in crypto winter, you've taken some profits during the massive bull run that I think is still ahead of us. And so you're excited somewhat for the crypto winter, but it's fairly long. And say this one only lasts like a year and a half to 2 years. That's still a really long time. And it's a lot of trading sideways and then trading up a little bit and then retracing even lower than it was before and then going up and then retracing. And it gets really boring. But just be aware, what's funny is when you tell people the problems that they're going to face ahead of time, they're more prepared for them and they can be like, oh yeah, Rainn said that this is what to expect. Because I look back at a few people that I know that have been heavily invested in crypto since 2013, even though they got totally ripped apart from the 2013 bull market because they came in, they bought near the top. You know, one of those is worth $400 million. And he's like 30-something years old, early 30s. Cool. Well, that's what we got for you today. I appreciate your interaction, and it's been good chatting with you and getting a feel from you on what you're feeling. Stay tuned for next time, and we will see you soon.
Came into the space chasing all of the gains, chasing the pumps and all of the hype trains. But like in life, shit, right before you could, was told to buy when it was boring like a Rainmaker should. I buy when it's down, don't chase the boats that I miss, cause I always make the time in mind. I sit the one out cause I'm patient like that, and I'll wait for the right time. I sell when it's high, I buy when it's low. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm just a Rainmaker running the show. Calculated investments, I don't lead with my heart. Principles are simple, they're leaving a mark. Buy when it's boring, just gotta be smart. I sell when it's hype, like all the channels they pump it. That's when I was selling, got parabolic, they dumped it. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a Rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes it time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a Rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. The time is never better, the time like the present. This next 5 years is a gift and it's feeling like heaven. I'm committed to learn, to study and to know that nothing comes easy but when knowledge the game show. Seeking out best wrong, cause soon will come a bear market. Learning and growing and when it's slow will be the target. Naysayers come out, Bitcoin is dead. The massive decreases can get to your head. Sticking around, the time is better. I'm strong like that, I'll let the others be fretters. 2 years time the bull will bring back the gains. That makes it worth the effort cause here comes the rain. So let's go Rainmakers, let's make it all happen. Let go of the hate, let the haters be crapping. I'm here for 5 years, let's do this together. The time is right, the time could be better. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a Rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes it time fly by, years going so fast. This game plan is mine, I'll own it now. when I reach the top. Haters asking me how, cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love, and I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Haters be hating, but time to slow down, addressing what they say when I'm wearing my crown. They're chasing green candles like someone who was new. I got a vision that was bigger, helping me to push through. I'm still human and sometimes it is rough, and that's what makes me special, simply I stay tough. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love, and I follow what I learn, not relying on luck.